And I am back this time with a special guest, Brandon from Brandon from the Hawks Nest. Welcome back.
It's great to be back, Jose. It's been a minute, but it's good to come back and look
It's
like
been
you're doing
almost a year.
almost a year, indeed. Yeah, time flies by. I'll tell you what, these years go. It's true what they say: as you get older, the years fly by faster. It's like
Yeah,
I blink and a year's gone by.
yeah. Well, let's get down to business.
Let's do it.
The Seahawks have already been making a couple cuts, trying to get down to the 53-man roster, and according, I just told you this news before we got started, but according to Greg Bell of the Tacoma or whatever paper he writes at,
I think you're right. No, Tacoma News Tribune.
Tacoma Tribune. He wrote if Dexter Bush hadn't been guaranteed $3 million, the Seahawks would have cut him by now, and he thinks the Seahawks are looking to trade Devin Bush. In my opinion, this would be a very big mistake because what we have Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks back, there are things called injuries that can happen, and I don't want our backup linebackers to be BBK and John Radigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I'm just a guy.
Well, I think it's probably a pretty complicated situation because you have the money factor into it to where, they want to maybe potentially go with a guy that's going to cost $1.5 million versus $3 million, which saves them $1.5 million that they could place elsewhere. That's probably a big part of this thing that's pushing it. I think that they probably have a better assessment of BBK and John Radigan than you or I. I do agree with you in that, neither of those two guys, to me, do I feel confident about putting on the field. I don't think that they can even get up to a place of like Cody Barton's level of play if they're out there playing. I think they'll be even worse than that. And
That's
so,
scary.
Yeah, that is scary. And so I don't know where the confidence would come in. Part of you getting Bush and signing him for that money was to have the built-in for Jordan Brooks. And that if Jordan runs all year, fine, but you have the insurance policy for $3 million to make sure that that's clear. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, especially for it's $3 million is not that much money. If they go and get a vet linebacker off the street that's been in the league for 5 or 6 years, his vet minimum is going to be $2 million. So you're really, at most you're talking about $1.5 million if you have a guy that's an undrafted rookie free agent or a 5th round pick. But it is a little bit odd to me, I guess, that, they look at that $1.5 million like they can go do damage with it elsewhere in helping the roster out, and that they feel better about that linebacker room than, you or I necessarily do. It also does speak to Jose, the fact that they feel really good about Jordan Brooks' health situation, because you obviously wouldn't be doing this if you thought he was going to be not up to snuff or near 100% and going to be dealing with that knee all year long.
It's amazing to me that they can feel comfortable with the guy that even before he tore his Achilles almost 8 months ago, still can't cover. Still can't cover.
No, it remains the part of his game that's the hole that's sitting there that the team doesn't seem to acknowledge or act like it doesn't exist. And I'm not really sure as to why. They just must be so enamored with his speed and his quickness, because he is a very fast. He's one of the few middle linebackers last year in the sport that was clocked over 20 miles an hour. And so he's legitimately fast, but he just doesn't have those instincts in coverage. It's gone back to the college days. It's gone back to his junior year in college. It was back-to-back years of watching tape back then. You were with the channel back then when I was scouting out on that guy, and it's been there since that time period, and it's not improved.
Me and you did the exact same thing when they drafted him. we ended both our streams.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
ended it, and
Yeah.
I ended mine.
Yeah, that was I was definitely annoyed. So it's like the LJ Collier one where it's just this pick doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up to why you're doing this. I don't get it. It's not, and it's also a little bit of the problem at the time when they drafted him, which was that they were still looking through football through a lens of as though football is being played like it was in 1995 and not how it's being played in 2023. You know, you can get away with a guy who was a linebacker in 95 who couldn't cover in space because he was out there to tackle and he was out there to play the run game. You can't do that now in the age of 2023. You need a guy that can at least hold up. So you don't need to be a dominant presence, but you need a guy that's not going to be in a little bit of just an empty hole out there. And boy, I'll tell you what, I've got a video I'm kind of putting together. You know how it is, Jose, with always doing, you know, the negative videos are never the ones that people really like to do too much. But I've got cut ups of all 22 of Jordan Brooks in coverage that is just, I mean, I showed a couple of them. It's really brutal. It's really brutal on a few of these where he's lost. He's completely lost at times, and that's not getting any better. So yeah, you're right. You bring up another thing.
Last season.
The what?
Last season I was at the Rams game when they played the Seahawks, and it was the play where Tariq Woolen got the interception.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And Jordan Brooks just looked like he didn't know where to go on that play.
No.
I'm like, it's a pass play. Drop back 5 yards. He's looking left, over the middle. Instead, he's going right.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are you going?
I know, and you see it on tape all the time where he's like trying to guess. There is no feel of I see something pre-snap and I have an idea about what's happening post-snap. It's all on the fly, trying to process during the play. And if you're thinking during football as you're in the middle of a play, it doesn't matter how fast you are. And this is where people get caught at the fast and the quickness on guys, especially Bobby Wagner. Well, he's lost all these steps, but yeah, but if he's 3 steps faster than the other guys who are now 4 steps slower through they're needing to process through the play, what difference is Bobby's lack of wheels in at that point? You know, it's also got to be that the guy knows how to play the game in that area of things. And Brooks just unfortunately doesn't. It doesn't mean he doesn't have like no value as a player. He's got some value, but maybe Devin Bush could be a better guy in coverage. But I guess, you know, that we got to also acknowledge here that, Jose, we've got like 30 snaps of Devin Bush in the preseason we've gone off of, and the coaching staff probably has had all of training camp and all of that to go off of and making their determinations. And, you know, that's maybe he hasn't looked as good there. Maybe there's a guy like Vi Jones who they think is going to come back off. And Vi Jones is a guy a lot of people were sort of hyping up in training camp before he went down to that injury.
I did not like what I saw.
Oh, really?
In the preseason.
Well, Vi Jones didn't play.
I thought he played on.
No, he got injured. He got injured before the first preseason game.
I thought he was out there on Saturday.
You had BBK. You had Radigan. And then that was it.
I'm thinking of Miles Adams.
There was a little Devin Bush on.
I'm thinking of I got him confused with Miles Adams.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's easy enough. They're kind of same kind of players, come in same place. But he's a guy a lot of reporters were talking about at training camp early on. And I'm not sure exactly the severity of the injury, but he might be a guy also that they feel really good about. And they're like, well, if that's going to be our third anyway, then Bush becomes redundant. He is there for the Jordan Brooks insurance. But if you have a guy that you think is better than Bush for that Jordan Brooks insurance, then save the million. And Vi Jones would be the thing you'd have to acknowledge on that. He's an undrafted rookie free agent, so he would be significantly cheaper than Bush. Well, you know, $2 million cheaper.
So, in the same article, Mr. Bell, I'm being polite. Mr. Bell stated that he sees 4 undrafted rookies making the team. Jake Rolo, Issa Winston, Levi Bell, and I can't remember what the fourth one was off the top of my head. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the I'm not sure on the fourth one either. I'm trying to go through my mind on who it would be. But I'm not too sure on that one, honestly. You went through the ones that I think it
I
would.
think it was Philip Lindsay.
Tyjon Lindsey?
Yeah, Tyjon.
I can't see that happening if that's his prediction for it, because
But to be fair, he wrote this before JSN was clear to what.
Well, I think even if JSN isn't cleared to go, you've got 2 receivers, you've got Bobo.
Got 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I guess JSN, that's the weird part about this 53-man roster and making the prediction of it is like what it's going to be in week 1 versus what it's going to be in week 2 and 3 when you kind of have all the guys back in that are, I mean, there's like an Eskridge type that's out there, or maybe a Derek Young that's low, but everybody's back into it that is like Tyjon Lindsey's not going to make the roster long-term on this team. You know, long-term this season, Bobo's your end of the receiver roster guy, and it'll get there very quick.
And Lindsay already got cut today.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. And I it's maybe I think they probably try to get away with 4 receivers, maybe in this first game / JSN being the 5. And if he can't come back, they'll just run with the 4, and then they'll just go with a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. So I think long-term they'll have 5 receivers, but they might early on just stay with the 4. If they go with the 5th, though, I think he's right about Aesop. Aesop's your 5th if you keep the 5th receiver. That to me made sense. It was him and Cody Thompson that I thought that the battle would come down to for the last receiver roster spot there. I don't know. And the Levi Bell one with Greg Bell, I think he's just doing that because the guy's last name's Bell. And, you know, he's like, well, it's family, so I've got to say he's going to make the roster. Really, though, I don't know how he does make the roster, though, Jose. You're going to carry 5 edges. That's what you've carried in the past. You've got them locked in. I don't see how he beats out Tariq Smith with the preseason that he had. I know the Seahawks fan base seems to be really high on Levi Bell, but, I mean, for my money, Tariq Smith played every bit as good as he did, and he's a better physical talent. He's got more upside. That's almost like a first-round kind of a first-round physical profile you get from a Tariq Smith. You know, he's got to realize it, and that's been the big trouble with him going back to Ohio State. But Levi Bell doesn't have that kind of physical potential. You put him up against, you know, true guys that are going to be able to overwhelm him, and it's going to be a different story than playing against third stringers.
Well, because Mike Morris is injured, I think they're going to try to put Levi Bell on the inside.
And that makes sense. You don't have anybody that's I mean, the inside's a little more like, especially too, because you got maybe no Cameron Young early on. Some of this, we don't know where he's at on his injury situation, but you got Jaron Reed. You've got the kid whose name I can never remember that we got it from Tennessee. We've got then Draymond Jones. We got no Mike Morris. Then you got Miles Adams. You know, and then who else? You know, that's where it does open up for some. There's not really anybody else, even, you know, Gotel. I
wasn't in love with Gotel.
He's okay. Yeah, he played good last Saturday, but that was probably his best game. And I mean, you know, he's a good practice squad guy for insurance on the line. I don't know we're getting out of Cameron Young this year, though. I mean, the kid was a rookie that was already going to be really raw, and now you haven't seen any of them this preseason. So, yeah, Megan, I'm with you. I don't know about Bell being moved to the inside. People were doing that with me on my chat, too, and saying, well, what about him going to middle linebacker? And I kind of go, well, yeah, but that's not what he is. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, you could, You could do that, but like, what's the point, right? Have a guy that's never played. I mean, have Bell inside who's never played defensive line, or hold on to a Gotel that gives you another lineman in there in the rotation when you're paper thin.
True.
I think Gotel at least gets to the practice squad, Megan. I don't think in this environment there's going to be somebody that's going to snatch him off your PS. So you can avoid to stash him away for the interim right now, and then see how he goes. See if he develops along a little further.
Megan,
Edge, Levi Bell's edge usually, but we've got Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, Darrell Taylor, and Hall, and Tyreek Smith. There's your 5 edges. So there is no room for the 6th at that point. They don't carry 6 edges. And the problem with it is if you say, well, let's have them carry the extra 6th edge, it does have to kind of come at the cost. It's not really him being moved inside at that point. Maybe they've moved him inside a little bit, but now that comes at the cost of 1 less defensive lineman, 1 less running back, 1 less tight end, because you're carrying 3 tight ends, you're carrying 5 receivers, you're carrying 4 running backs. You've already kind of fully, with the way the 53-man roster goes, you've already stocked things up at certain spots where there is no extra, like, well, we can go a little lighter here to put a little extra over here. And then, unfortunately, it's just not there.
It would have been easier if the rookie at the University of New Mexico had a bad training camp, but he didn't.
Jarek Reed?
Yeah.
He was the 6th round pick.
No, I was 6.
Jarek Ball.
What did I say?
Huh?
No, I said, what did I say?
You said New Mexico.
Yeah.
I was probably thinking of different. I was probably thinking him getting him confused. Who was our other New Mexico guy?
No, you got it right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jarek was awesome, man. That might be our free safety of the future. Yeah. Legit.
Yeah, I did not know what to expect from him. I looked at his highlight reel, which was a 3-minute clip.
Yeah, it was pretty tiny.
I'm like,
it wasn't a lot there.
I'm like, okay, this.
And it was one of those highlight reel clips where they show the same play 4 different times from 5 angles, just to kind of like fill it out a little bit.
I'm like, okay, I don't know what to make of this, but so let's talk about one of my favorite Seahawks because of his name. You know where I'm going with this. Kobe Bryant, where do you see him still making the team?
Which one? Who?
Kobe Bryant.
Oh, Kobe Bryant. Kobe.
Yes.
Yeah, he's making the team. He's making the team. I almost think that they owe him a solid on this one, Jose, just simply for what they've done to him. I mean, you take a guy that's a 2-time All-ACC cornerback, Walter Thorpe Award winner, who, seemed to just hold up well enough on a team in college that ascended to win it, playing for like national titles. And now you instantly move him from the jump into slot. And then the next year you're going to move him to safety. And then you're going to cut him cold-bloodedly because he didn't excel at the safety or slot enough for you, having never really given him a true shot at outside corner. I don't see how the team could make that kind of decision, and I wouldn't support it. And I feel a little bit bad for what Kobe's going through because I think that it's an uphill battle to try to learn 3 positions at once through your first 3 years in the pros. And I think that, like I've said many times on this, it's maybe what's best for the team, but I don't know what's best for Kobe. And maybe that work versatility will help out a ton, but he hasn't looked really super comfortable to me at safety. He looked like he did his best over there at slot. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit depressed when it comes to Kobe on that one because I look at it and I go, I don't know what the real plan here was,
So which cornerback gets cut?
That's where I think we're locked in again pretty solidly, where this is where we get back to like, how do you sort of pillage on the edge to pull one extra guy onto the edge from somewhere else? And like we talk about, running backs, some teams can carry 3 running backs.
I'll answer that.
Huh? Oh, on the yeah, for sure. with the corners, though, you have Tariq, you'll have Kobe, you'll have Trey, Mike Jackson, and then you're going to have Artie Burns.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are your 5. For sure.
I'm very, very scared when it comes to Mike Jackson, because it could be a thriller, or it could be
Is he Thriller Jackson, or is he end of career Jackson?
Exactly.
I'm not. The nice part about stacking this kind of depth at the cornerback room, Jose, is that you're not stuck or embedded in one guy. And if Mike Jackson fails out in game 1 and he continues to show what he's shown the last 2 games, they're not going to have to ride with him for a long period of time because of the talent that they have bubbling there. But does he make the roster as a guy that's cheap, that is functional out there to some degree? If you have to throw him out there, yeah, I think he still makes the roster on that point. The one thing with this, like we saw today with some of the cuts on some of the corners they moved, like Steele, for instance, nobody on the back end of the roster at the corner position past these 5 guys we're talking about made any noise this preseason. Can you think of one play one of those corners made that was the 6, 7, 8, 9 corner on the roster? I can't. And so I think those guys got themselves for him. And Artie Burns, I mean, he was balling on Saturday.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Dogs are gonna be dogs.
Yeah, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, man. It's all good. They're settling down.
It's a delivery.
They're letting him know.
Delivery.
You better put that box down, or I'm gonna. Go Mariners, Y2K.
Thank you, Y2K, for coming in. If you're not subbed already, please hit that subscribe button.
Hell yeah. Let's get it up for Jose here.
So, can you envision the Seahawks making a trade for a defensive tackle not named Chris Jones?
Would you do the Chris Jones trade?
No.
No, even if you could make it, you wouldn't?
Because he's close to 30, and last year was already his best year. It's all downhill from there.
I think it's a solid argument to be made. I mean,
I'd rather trade with the Forrest Buckner. Easy for me to say. Good grief.
I guess, would your answer change if you knew that you didn't have an ability to trade for a elite defensive tackle in the next 2 years? Because real quick before you answer that, let's acknowledge we're not going to have an opportunity to draft an elite defensive tackle probably, because we're going to be picking at the end of the first round, and that just doesn't tend to be the way that goes. So does the answer change if you were Jose the psychic and you knew for the next 2 years that you didn't have an opportunity to go get that elite defensive tackle? Would you be more willing to then make that trade at that point?
It depends on what I would have to pay Chris Jones.
Show me the price tag. No, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. It's okay. 28 million a year. And it's going to cost you 1 first round pick.
If it was anything lower than 30, I guess, yeah, I would.
And this is where I'm glad to hear you.
Megan, you're gonna kill me.
I know. Well, Megan gets stubborn on this one, but this is why I'm glad to hear that you're willing to come around. I'm not saying that you do it at all costs, like you're saying. There's under parameters that you'd be willing to make the move. But the problem I see right now,
if the price is right.
Price is right. The part of this that's got to inform you a little bit, though, here too, Jose, has got to be the market scarcity of the position, right? the opportunity to go there and draft a guy later on. You don't know if you're going to have that chance. Right now, when we look at our cap situation for next year, we're not just, everyone wants to, I hear this mentioned in all of my chat with, well, next year will be the year we go for it. That's when we'll spend all this money, and that's when we'll da-da-da-da. But if you look at the cap situation, you don't have the money necessarily for a cap year to go out and spend $20 million on DJ Reader next year.
No, we don't.
So we come back around to this then. You look around the league this offseason, Jeffrey Simmons, the Giants kid that signed his contract, LaRon Payne, all these guys go down the line this offseason. The Jets kid, Quinnen Williams, Ed Oliver with the Buffalo Bills. All of the elite young defensive linemen in this league have been signed and locked down. There is one sitting out there. I'll give you one more name when that's that kid out there in Miami. Outside of that, though, it's a wasteland. Yeah, Wilkins. But it's a wasteland outside of that. And we don't know if Miami's going to be willing to deal. We don't know if the Colts are going to be willing to deal. And we don't have a pathway to going and getting our next one who would be a lead into the future. I'm with you and Megan on this a little bit, where my gut instinct is to go, no, he's a little older. He's over the hill. It's going to cost too much. But then I do come back to going, okay, I get all that's well-informed and logical and reasonable. But then we get over here to this other side of, okay, but we still need to figure out how we're going to deal with this. And where is our solution to be found then?
I'll let you answer that.
If you were Pete B, how long would you ride with MJ? Quite honestly, I think I would be very open to, if Trey Brown has outplayed Mike Jackson through the course of training camp, I would probably give the job to Trey Brown at this point. But that's the part we don't know. That I always tap the brakes on all of us. We have the place where we can make an assessment off of 3 preseason games. They're making their assessment off of the off-season mini camps, training camp, the scrimmage game, and then the 3 preseason games. So what if Mike Jackson just sucked in those 2 preseason games, but he was really good everywhere else? Do you not give him that? I probably wouldn't at that point if I'm Pete. But if that is the case, even if he does go out and then struggle game 1, because he isn't going to have a big challenge game 1 there, Jose, right? I mean, the Rams are going to trot out a bunch of rookies, and Cooper Kupp's lining up inside, so he's not going to have to deal with Cooper Kupp. He's going to have Van Jefferson and Pupu Atwell. He's going to have Pupu Atwell on the outside. And if he can't cover Pupu Atwell, I call him Pupu because that's how much he weighs. Remember, that was the guy that weighed 147 pounds on his pro day. So I said he weighs as much as a bag of crap. From then on, he's always been Pupu Atwell. That's been I thought you knew this. The Chad knew this by. This has been for a couple of years we've been rolling with this. But yeah, he should be able to hold up. But if he doesn't out there, go to Trey, go to Devin. This is the point of stacking up and having competition be king. If he's fallen off, you're not married to him in the future. The point of Mike Jackson's value right now is that he's giving you one good last final year of cheap play before he goes and reaches free agency. If he's not giving you that, then he can sit on the bench and be cheap backup.
I have a question. Not to ignore Megan, because I would never do that. Never do that. But have we heard anything about Kenny McIntosh? And if not, does he start the season on IR?
Hard to say because, like you said, it's been pretty quiet with that. He's right around the timetable where if he had what I believe that he probably had, which was a torn MCL, it's usually a 4 to 5 weeker to come back from that. And you're right along in the time period where that will be where he's landing on. So if I was a betting man, Jose, I'd say he's going to be probably ready by game 1, and that the team just decided at one point or that's where he'll be. And they'll, it's slotted in there. You'll get Roderick if not for 1 game, but then McIntosh will definitely be back, I would think, by week 2.
Right, I agree.
So Roderick.
But how would that work? You put them on.
You have them on PUP, technically speaking. Well, you actually, if it's a 1 week thing, you probably just have him on the roster, but he's inactive because you have like 2 guys that can be inactive, I think, on the roster or something like that on a weekly basis. And then you'd have Sir Roderick up for a week, and then you just try to bury Sir Roderick back on the practice squad the week after that. And he would probably get there. I don't think that he gets plucked out on the open market.
Do you think we made a mistake not not resigning Rashad Penny.
Do you think we regret it?
Yeah.
Uh, Penny said that we actually, I think, even potentially offered more money than the Eagles did. He wanted to go do that whole give me a new environment, a fresh pair of eyes. Like, like maybe I just have bad luck in
That's
Seattle.
that's not working out someone.
No, no, no. And there's been some tough cut ups of Penny coming out of the Eagles where I don't know if he's just lost the juice in his legs after this last injury. There was one lower leg injury too many. And it's happened to guys where that eventually all that accumulates and you just don't have those wheels you once did. And he's had a good number of them now. Not just the ACL in this thing last year, but also all the small tissues injuries he's had on top of it. And so the Eagles rumor, I mean, hell, they're kicking the tires on Jonathan Taylor. They're talking about maybe cutting Rashad Penny at this point.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's been a tough landing spot for him there. I can't blame him for picking the Eagles as far as a destination because from his standpoint, that is a better run blocking offensive line. And he looked at that running back room at that time, and all he had to do was beat out Miles Sanders because
No, not even.
Gainwell had gone to the Panthers. But then they traded for DeAndre Swift. And
You got it backwards.
oh, okay. Is it Miles Sanders still there and Gainwell left? Is that the way it went?
No.
Gainwell's there, Miles Sanders left.
Yes.
There we go. I get those two guys confused. They're like the same back to me in my mind. But he probably thought he's going to get a little bit of it, whereas here he's got Kenneth Walker behind him. He's probably like, I can beat out that guy over Kenneth. Kenneth's going to be a starter here. So I can get where he's come from with that a little bit. It wasn't a completely dumb move on his part, but it seems like he's just doesn't got the juice anymore in his legs.
No, Megan, no.
I mean, you wouldn't take him over Sir Roderick? I guess it depends. If he's slow as mud now, no. If he's like just walking in water when he's moving, no. But he's probably better than Sir Roderick at this point as a practice squad guy.
Okay,
He's not an active roster, Megan. No way I put him on the active. Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm gonna share a crazy story I've never told on YouTube. When Rashad was a rookie, that was the first year the Chargers were in LA playing at the old Home Depot Center. And I'm just at the game sitting there and I see all these penny jerseys surrounding me, and I'm like, oh, this must be his family. It was his entire family. They were all very nice. His dad even FaceTimed Rashad, so I could talk to him for a minute and say, get healthy. And I told him, one of his brothers, I said it jokingly. I said, I hope your brother doesn't turn into that character from Friday Night Lights. And sure enough, that's what happened. I said it jokingly. I didn't wish it on him. I thought it was going to be the next Darren Sproles type, but
you gotta be careful about saying that, speaking that stuff in the universe. When I was a kid, I was on the phone with my dad one morning, and he said, we had a school play going on, and my dad said, go break a leg, son. You know what they say to those guys, and they're going to perform. And I walk outside my front door. I walk down to the sidewalk. It's snowing out, and there's a fire hydrant in front of me. I look down the fire hydrant, and when I look up next, the fire hydrant's laying on me, and I got a Buick in my face that had just hit me. So you got to be careful when you say that. You got to be careful.
Wait, you got hit by a Buick?
I got hit by a Buick when I was about 10 years old, and it hit me and the fire hydrant, and then the fire hydrant landed on top of me. It was crazy. It's a high school girl trying to get to school too fast, and she came down the hill going, lost control in the snow, and wow, it was nuts. Yeah, I was lucky. My legs were like bruised from the I still got the pictures. I could show you, but it's probably not safe for thing. But from the bottom of my legs up to the top, just completely black and blue, and it took like 3 guys to lift the fire hydrant off my legs. It was nuts. But you got to be careful. The point was you can't say that, speak that evil into the universe, Jose. You cannot speak in the universe. The universe will hear you. It will pick it up and it will run with it. You will have created the energy inadvertently.
I said it as a joke.
I know, but the universe doesn't joke.
Yes, I know. Unfortunately, I know. So, to say you've changed my mind on Chris Jones would be an understatement. As long as it's not 30 million, if the price is right.
Yeah, I think that you can get him under 30 million by going back to more guarantees and bonus money. I mean, that's the common ground compromise place you get to where they feel a little warm and fuzzy that they're not going to get cut out from under the contract without reaching a certain dollar amount they're expecting to get from it. That's less than them getting worried about the 30 million pure figure, but it's a move. Where you start out in that move in a general conceptual area, being that you're kind of against it, it is the place I'm also in kind of naturally on this. It's only that I get back around to kind of thinking, well, wait though. I'm looking at all these deals. There's 6, 7, 8 defensive tackle contracts, major defensive lineman contracts signed. The Dolphins, as they can't get a deal done with Wilkins, just signed one of their other defensive linemen this morning, just today. It's one of those things that's just, you're seeing teams like, it's like the antithesis of the running back position. Like the running backs are like the redheaded stepchilds of the NFL now. And like,
why is that?
Oh, well, I think that it's because this is what history's proven out to be the smart move for the free market economics of football when it comes to this. Like, you sign guys at running backs, you're not getting the value of what you got prior to them signing. And it's such a hard line of a deal. If there's so many examples of that being proven true, you can find your few anomalies. Well, what about this guy? Well, what about this guy I can grab from 7 years ago? But on average, at like your 90% rate, if you sign a guy into this next contract, you're not going to get the production you once did. You're paying for past performance with a running back is what you're doing. And you can talk yourself into, yeah, but he's so young and yeah, you did. But that's just the way it plays out. And if you're going to get injured and broken right as I signed you this new contract, if it's been proven over and over again, when I sign guys, I don't get the returns. Ask the Cowboys about Zeke Elliott and that signing. Ask the Rams about the Todd Gurley signing. They went in to make these guys valuable to say, hey, you are a bedrock of what we do. You are a basis, a foundational piece of what we do. And we want to reward you for that. And they give them these great, and then they all get bit on the butt by it. How do you say, well, though that no, they need to pay those guys. No, it's not the way it works. And then meanwhile, on the other side of it, you have all of these, guys at the end of, take the Steelers situation right now, Jose. You have Najee Harris, first round pick.
Yeah. At
the time he's first round pick, everything kind of going, well, I mean, he's Alabama, he's got all that, but I mean, he's not, this ain't Derrick Henry. He's all right. He's all right. And now you have a Jalen Warren, undrafted rookie free agent, who's looking more productive and better, who was more productive and more better than he was last year, step for step, carry for carry. These kind of examples you find all over the place throughout the league, and it does not make people draw back to, we've got to value running backs higher. It draws them away from that. It makes things go more extreme.
Or another example. Look at Chris Carson.
Mm-hmm.
We signed him to an extension.
The 2 biggest contracts we've signed, there's probably 3 in total, because one's a free agent deal that we signed to Ricky Waters when he was in Eagles. It was a marginal deal. But the 2 contracts we've signed of our own players in-house, rewarding them for rookie performance, go through Seahawks history, okay? And right. the two times that you did that was Sean Alexander coming off of his MVP season in 2005 and Chris Carson in just a couple of years ago. And in both of those deals, they were spectacular failures of a deal. I know that the team wanted to do right by Chris, and I think that was just them. That was them literally, not just in like theoretically rewarding for past performance. That was them literally rewarding Carson for, like, Carroll's like, you've been a good soldier, I've got to give you this. And he wasn't getting any money on the open market. Like, only the Patriots were offering him anything. So
I didn't even know that.
yeah, it wasn't, they weren't even offering what Seattle's offering. Like Seattle came in and did right by him on that deal. The front office did right by Carson on that deal all the way around. But this is where you can go over and over. You go, okay, well, there's a rule of thumb, right, Jose? You go, okay, well, in NFL, there's this general rule of thumb. I always say we got to look in historically in our own organization. I think that there's a value. Don't you think there's a value to looking inside your own thing of saying how, when we've made this decision in regards to this has happened? Because if you had a thing that's broken you when you go down that road, you got to change your ways of it. So the 2 times that you've happened, that's a sample size, but the only 2 times you've been bitten in the most extreme fashion by the lack of production you got after they signed the deals. This has got to form even further to say, no, I can't.
I have a question. When the Seahawks gave Sean Alexander that extension, did anyone see that free fall coming that quick?
Well, they didn't see the free fall coming that quick. It was also a deal that you didn't worry about making as much because we weren't as informed in running backs as much as we are now. And quite honestly, running backs had a little more stopping power going on with them, a little more longevity to them in their performance. This thing of them falling apart so early and so young has been kind of a newer thing that's occurred a bit. But, and he came off, he was an MVP the prior year. So, I mean, he set NFL record at 28 touchdowns, and 1,800 yards on the ground. He was insane, but you had to pay him, but it doesn't mean that, in retrospect, it's like, it wasn't good that you did. You had to do it, but it didn't mean that it was still a good thing that you did it, at the end. And I just, if I go into the future, if I'm the Seahawks as a plan right now, and if I'm any organization in the NFL, outside of having a guy that is just such a talent, like an Adrian Peterson type or a Barry Sanders type, a guy that's like generational talent that is just undeniable, I'm moving on. I'm going to just keep it moving. I'll do what the Hawks have done. I'll stock up on 2nd round picks at running back position. I'll find value there, but I'm not paying guys. It's not a good way to go. It does not bring you back any of the returns you think you're going to get, and maybe make people feel warm and fuzzy about you rewarding one of your own, but it doesn't help you win football games.
No.
Did we know he was go down with an injury like he did? Being Sean? Is that who she's talking about, or Chris Carson?
Chris Carson.
Well, the problem I have with the Chris Carson deal, and why I say that's them doing a solid of Chris Carson, and in a way that NFL teams don't do, that was literally them going, well, we're maybe going into a rebuild thing here soon, and maybe he won't come back, but man, he's just been a warrior. He's given his body up. They knew he had a chronic neck condition. 100%. They knew he had a chronic neck condition when they signed him to that contract. And then surprisingly, he has to go get neck fusion surgery and go get actual hardware installed into his neck later on. If you're telling me the team couldn't put that 2 and 2 together, I'm going to think pretty poorly about my front office. I think they knew it. I think they were okay with it. It wasn't a monster contract. It was good money for a back, but they didn't give him out like a Todd Gurley deal, or an Ezekiel Elliott deal. They gave him.
God, don't get me started.
Oh, I know. Well, so I think they did him solid. They knew what they were walking into with it. I don't know if they knew that he was not going to ever play again, but I think that they knew that was a big time possibility of coming into play for sure.
Now, before we end this, let's talk about our division rivals.
I pissed off some Niner fans yesterday, Jose. Oh, buddy, they got angry about it. Did you see my thumbnail I put up on that video?
No, I did not.
So
I was actually.
If you get a chance, check out the thumbnail. You'll dig it. I went hard. I went hard at it.
I was actually with my dad yesterday, so.
Oh, nice.
I didn't get a chance to.
So I put a press conference where you have Lynch and Shanahan looking all sour and like sad, and then I have behind him I've got Lance with his back with his jersey behind him, and then I got like a whiskey bottle in front of Shanahan with a little cup with a whiskey glass, and then I put 2 Dunce caps on both of them.
Okay.
So that kind of triggered a couple of Niner fans. I've been getting comments. God, so touchy down over there in San Francisco. You'd think with all that wine they drink, they'd be a little bit more laid back.
Well, okay. Well, let's start with the Cardinals.
So we'll start with the crap show. you
They,
know,
they look to be really,
they're tanking.
they're tanking quick.
They're tanking hard. Both teams in our division are tanking in a way that, honestly, Jose, I don't see many NFL teams doing in recent years.
They cut Colt McCoy.
Yeah. The Hawk Killer, 3-0 against the Seahawks all time.
They put Kyler Murray on PUP.
Yeah.
So, who's going to be quarterback for the first 4 weeks?
Josh Dobbs.
David Blau?
Josh Dobbs.
Oh, God.
Guy they traded for from Cleveland.
God.
I like teams going into the mode of rebuild and leaning into it, Jose. I'm a big guy into saying if you're going to go into a mode where you rebuild, lean into it. And if you have assets that you can offload to help yourself for the future, because you have guys that aren't going to be those foundational pieces into the future, then move them. And I think the Cardinals are doing that. I think the guys they moved, I think that Simmons.
They traded an 8th overall pick for a 7th round pick.
No, it's a miserable trade, but it's also one where it's about the future of where they were taking that pick. And you brought in a guy in this defense who's not where he needed to go with Simmons was to a Giants defense. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator there, is one of the most blitz heavy. He is the most blitz heavy defensive coordinator in the entire NFL. And he is also the most exotic in that he will move a guy like Simmons all over the place. The Cardinals defense, which is the Fangio realm, is going to be more static in where it's going to play its players. It's going to ask Simmons to just be a pure middle linebacker and fit into that role, which the whole value of Simmons, if you remember when they was picked, was you have to have a plan for this guy. He's not a middle linebacker. He's not a defensive end. He's not a strong safety. He's not a Sam linebacker or a Will. He's all of those things.
I would tell him not when the Cardinals drafted him because I know how good he can be.
Mm-hmm. I think that Martindale fits awesome for him, Jose. Going to that defense that's going to roll him all over the place and just let him just attack and hunt. Like he's going to be probably a good fit in that defense for that pick. But
you know what I feel very sorry for? And I'm not even joking. Buda Baker, what did he do? What did he do to deserve that?
Yeah, I feel well, and he's asked for a trade. You're moving everybody else, and then you won't move this one guy who's actually been one of the ones actually asking for a trade. Like that's the most cold-blooded part to me about it is like, and I'm double checking right now because I've been wondering about this if it's a matter of there's just so much dead money. And what they're trying to do is if they want to move somebody, it's only going to be under the auspice that they're going to create cap space, not that they're going to lose, like not that they're going to take a negative deal just to accommodate Buda Baker. So like, here's my thing with that. He's got a 17.9 cap hit. So an $18 million cap hit this year. He's got a $21 million dead money hit. So what the Cardinals have to do is they would still have basically him plus $3 million to move him.
Yeah.
It's $3 million cheaper to hold on to him. And so from their perspective, they go, hey, we rewarded you, we paid you. You're coming back now wanting to be traded and moved, and we have to eat that dead money.
You're moving everyone else.
Yeah, I know exactly. So maybe if a team comes in and gives value for Buda, but he's not at his highest value right now. And the Cardinals are going to probably want a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick. And I don't think that they're going to get that for him in order to move him in a trade. But tough for him. It is just a tough deal.
Call me crazy, but I can see a team like the Commanders trading for him.
For
Buda.
Yeah, it's possible. Like it's possible their safety position needs a little bit of help. So I mean that's one that could make some sense.
Yeah, let's get to my neck of the woods.
Okay. There we go.
The
Rams. Sorry, go ahead.
They did trade for an offensive lineman from the Steelers today.
They did.
Not that that's gonna help much.
Yeah, I don't think the Steelers too are a team that likes to give up their offensive lineman if they've got a quality one. So I'd reckon to guess that Dotson's been pretty disappointing for him. Rams are leaning in the rebuild mode too, and just not quite as hard.
The Rams got Dotson.
That's what I'm saying. The Steelers don't tend to trade away competent, good linemen. If they have a good lineman in house, they're going to keep him in house. So if they're moving him to the Rams,
Good point.
it's probably not a very good lineman at this point. And I would reckon to guess when you look at the Rams line last year, which was just in awful shape.
It can't get much worse.
It can't, but they didn't have any ability to really address it this offseason. They had no draft picks and then they had no money to spend. So they're probably just like, we got to make this at least functional this year.
They did draft a quarterback.
He's looked good. Stenson's looked good for him. They've liked what they've seen out of him at camp. We'll see if that guy can be another
Five picks.
Brock Purdy. He's thrown 5 picks.
Yes.
Oh, did he? I haven't been watching what he's done in the game. So that's funny. He's looking good in practice, whatever that's worth. But look, they leaned into the rebuild like the Cardinals did, just not quite as extreme. They shed all that money. They're going to start probably about 10 rookies on both sides of the ball. You know, everything is so open up for us, Brent, this year, Jose, to go in and take this as far as we got 4 easy wins in this division alone. Say nothing of if the 49ers do start to kind of have some things pull apart a little bit for them. And then it's really there for the taking for us this year. It really is, no matter how young we are.
You just mentioned it. So let's go down by the bay. Where the watermelons grow.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Yeah. What the hell are they doing?
I don't know, man. They think Brock Purdy's going to be the miracle worker there. They think he's going to be the next best thing since sliced toast. And, we'll see if that's the case. I think he's got a powder puff arm. I think
let me tell you this. Last year, if Jordan Brooks had been starting instead of Cody Barton, Brock Purdy would have thrown 2 picks.
I think he comes back down to earth. I do. I think when it comes down to it, when you're an undersized quarterback that's small and you have a light arm, that's going to eventually rear its head, and you're going to have to face that one point or another, and it's not going to be fun. And I think that teams are going to scout him now. Remember this too, Jose, and that you've got teams that have had 6-7 games to look at this kid and see what he does. Teams are going to start to press those short routes. You even saw in the last preseason game with Purdy, where everything was a 5-yard route out of his hand. Everything's 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. What happens when teams press that down and take that away? He doesn't have the arm to hit you over the top. Bosa is still holding out. And now he's likely to miss game 1, maybe to miss more games beyond that. And he's not looking like he's willing to move off of where he's at all as it stands. Their offensive line and pass protection, I think, he has looked even worse in this preseason period. They better hope they can keep that short stuff going, because if they have to block for 3-4 seconds on a play, it's going to get real tough for those quarterbacks in that system, whoever it is, be Darnold or Purdy. But I'm glad that they moved Lance. That was the one guy that scared me of those quarterbacks.
This is my opinion. You can feel free to disagree. But in my opinion, they really did trade Lance dirty.
I agree. No, 100% agreed. The Niners mismanaged that whole situation. That was what my video yesterday was really about, was that, this makes them weaker for, Niner fans can talk all they want about Purdy or not. Moving Lance, whether you're a big Brock Purdy believer or not, or you think Sam Darnold is can be reclamated by Shanahan, they are worse as a team on the other end of that move in the 2023 season. They are not better now. And I do think that they messed up Lance. I don't think that they developed him properly. I think Shanahan knows it. And if he goes on and he takes off with Dallas or some other team moving into the future, this is going to look really bad for Dallas. Already looks bad that you give up 3 first-round picks now for nothing. It's going to look even worse if the kid goes and ascends somewhere because you just didn't have the ability to develop him properly. Megan's with us. I appreciate that, Megan. I know. I can't believe that more Niner fans aren't. And there's a contingent of them that is like, this was stupid. It's just that they're caught up in the Purdy mania. The Purdy mania has a lot of them. Like, they really think that guy is going to be like everything. And I don't see.
The crazy thing is, the Niners and the Patriots should have just swapped quarterbacks. Mac Jones should have gone to the Niners, and Trey Lance should have gone to the Patriots.
I don't know if Lance I don't know though on that, because Lance would have had issues, I think, with the Patriots too, because I think he needed a place where there was not that hard line, hard edge coach that like, isn't going to kind of love up a guy. It's more of that kind of guy that's like, do your job right. And Shanahan strikes me as that kind of guy a little bit. Belichick strikes me as that kind of guy. Lance needs a Carroll kind of coach. He needs a guy that's going to embrace the kid and lean into getting his confidence back. To me, I think he's lost a little confidence here through this process too when he's gone on the field, especially with some of the throws he was making this last preseason where just the kid's in his head a bit. And why wouldn't he be? He's not gotten the support of the organization. But I think he needs more of a guy like that. And the other problem with going to the Patriots is they want to run, why they went with Mac Jones, is they want to run that spreads concept stuff that's evolved from the Brady days of everything being 5-yard out routes and option routes and then run the ball. And Lance is going to be more of a guy you want, to me, that you want him having like under center, play action, limit the throwing attempts, let him use his legs in moments, get him into a power rushing offense. That's what I would look to more kind of align Lance into as much as anything else. And frankly, the Niners place should have been the job for him, and that would have been a great place for it. But they just didn't do it right with him.
So before I let you go, what is your season prediction for this year?
I'm pretty firm on this now, and I've been away for a while on this mark of it, and I'm going to be at 12-5. I do feel like the team is going to be better than last year. The offense is going to be more consistent throughout the whole year. It kind of got held up about week 12 and onwards. I think it stays consistent all the way through, and the defense takes some steps forward, and the special teams remains almost kind of a dominant aspect of this team. And you put that all together, and that team comes out the other end of it as a 12-win team to me. And you go 5-1 in this division. You split with the Niners, and we beat the other two teams. That 5-1 helps you get. That means you only got to get now, 7 other wins then through the rest of the league or whatever it is to get up to 12 at that point. So you look at the guys we got to play, the teams we got to play. I think that's very, 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 very feasible to get that done. So 12 wins. I think the Niners, even though I'm thinking they have a chance to fall back this year, I still would put them as a 13-win team in this division. They get to play in the same weak division we do, right? They still get those 4 wins like we do. So, they're going to benefit from that as well. But we're going to step forward this year. And then once we get to the playoffs, we'll see what happens. I think we'll be able to maybe make some noise, but it all depends on how much Carroll can get this young team forward. I've said this a couple times on this, Jose. You won the Super Bowl. And you take that 53-man roster and you distill down their average age, it was 26 and a half years old. Right now, when we look at this 53-man roster that's going to come out tomorrow, if you distill down the ages of those guys, it's going to be about little over 25 years old.
Damn,
so
that's
very, very young roster.
That's a scary thought.
It is, because you set a record, right? Remember that Super Bowl team in 2013 set a record as the youngest Super Bowl winning roster in NFL history. Yeah. So, and you're a year and a half on average younger than that. It's the thing in my mind that makes the one thing in this year of them reaching the highest of heights this year, or them being ready this year to get to the Super Bowl. It's the one thing I go, man, Carroll's going to have to do the best job he's ever done to accomplish this, because this is such a young roster to have to pull that off with.
Well, I've been saying 10-7, but now I'm going to say 11-6.
Let's go, Jose. Come on now. Yeah. We'll get you up to 12 by game day. We'll have you worked up by game day to 12, man.
The game that has me nervous is the Cleveland Brown game.
Cleveland could be good this year. Cleveland's got a lot of little markers on them for a team that could have things kind of come together for them, especially if Deshaun Watson can kind of come back to being what he was when Houston. Because last year he didn't look like the same player he was at Houston. And he had been off of football for a year, so it was understandable. But if he can come back and get back into being that player, where they're at with that offensive line, he's got some playmakers down the outside, and that defense seems like it could be just good enough.
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb. Hey, Nick Chubb, probably one of the best.
The guy we should have drafted.
Yeah.
But
it worked. Well, and I have a theory on that. That's the great irony of the Chubb pick for me, Jose, is that he fit the Marshawn mold, right? Because Carroll had that whole Marshawn Lynch. I like the Marshawn Lynch type. He was like a guy that's into blondes, like I like my Marshawn Lynch type running backs, Here you have the most Marshawn Lynch type running back in that draft when you're going to intend to probably draft a running back, but you passed on him. Why? Because he tore his ACL at Georgia, and you were worried about the injury situation with Nick Chubb. So you draft Rashad
No,
Penny, who
that's
had
not why.
no. I'm pretty sure this is why. What was your reason?
I heard it was because Shawty coached him at Georgia and
Maybe.
didn't like his attitude.
Oh, okay. I had never heard that.
That's what I heard.
I just always wondered if that was maybe the thing that came down, because it just didn't make any sense to me why you wouldn't go with Chubb when you're Carroll. That's your type, and you go for more of the finesse kind of big play, not the more of the grinder type in Penny. But the thing with Penny on the other side of it was that he had one of the cleanest medical evaluations that they had ever had for a player coming out of college. And that's why I say that's the great irony, is that you sort of pass on the one guy who would have been a fit to what you love, who's been kind of a picture of health as a running back since he's been in, despite having a lot of carries. And then this other guy who has just fallen apart physically over that time, who was supposed to be this, it's a crapshoot, man. This game can be a crapshoot when it comes to that type of stuff at times,
Yes, again. Well, B, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. We'll get back over here sooner than a year out on this one. Hopefully things are.
Hopefully before a playoff game.
I think we can get it done, man. I think we can get it done. So let's softly write it down, and let's just plan on getting those playoffs. And maybe the bye week, right? Maybe the bye week just before, because we'll have the division title and the first seed in the NFC. So maybe on the bye week we got a little downtime that week. We'll hit it up.
Sounds good. I put your channel link in the description. So if you want to sub to the hardworking Seahawks YouTuber and help get them to 13K.
We're over 13K now.
Oh, good grief.
We pushed over. Yeah, we're rolling.
I miss everything.
You're with your dad, man. Family man. You gotta put that family time in. I went to Hawaii this summer, and it was really great. You gotta have that time, man. Especially in these times, keep family close.
Yes. But if you want to sub this channel, the link is in the description. And if somehow you haven't subbed and you want to get subbed, please help me get to 700 subs by next Friday, which will be my 30th birthday.
Hey, let's go. Happy birthday in advance, Jose.
Thank you.
Big 3-0.
So, guys, with that being said, until next one, God first, God bless, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
We're out. Peace. Later, Megan.
Have a good one, Megan.